Okay.
Give it a second here. All right, should be good to go, Fred.
Okay, good evening, everyone. The
My friend,
first topic for discussion is the Renew Cumberland Fund. And I'm just going to tell you, the bad news is we didn't get what we requested. And I'm going to stop there and let Scott fill you in later in the meeting when all the members are with us. The next item I want to talk about is the discussion of the 2021 block grant funds. And we submitted to you all late this afternoon. Chris Collada and I finished up the last application around 2 p.m. And we have made 2 applications on behalf of the borough. The one that was made by the Newville Borough Council is for the resurfacing and repair of Parsonage Street, which would include storm drainage and also handicapped accessible ramps at both ends of the street. And this request is in the amount of $102,381.93. Now, this will require the borough to pay for the engineering. We cannot fund engineering through the grant. So the engineer's estimate is about $4,000 to do all the engineering, design, and the spec manual. We also submitted today a request for 1 East Main Street. And we'll be talking more about this tonight in executive session. But what we have submitted funds to the County Redevelopment Authority for is the build out of the property once it is purchased and demolished. And what we're thinking of is a park. And Chris has given the name of the project, the Veterans Park at the town center. We're thinking of constructing a pocket park, which would be landscaped with benches. We would have a memorial to our veterans, flagpole, lighting, all of that would be in this area, would include new sidewalks, curbs, and handicap ramps. So it would be a major improvement on that corner. It would hopefully serve as a catalyst to other improvements on Main Street, South High Street, and Big Spring Avenue. So we plan to submit this application tomorrow. We're waiting on one more document to come through. Chris should have that tonight, and then we will be submitting tomorrow that application. We have also asked you tonight, we will ask for a letter of support for the grant. And in the letter of support, we will ask council to say this to the Redevelopment Authority, that the Parsonage Street grant would be our first priority, and our second priority would be East Main Street. Now, Chris has already talked to folks at the Redevelopment Authority. They know both applications will be coming in. And in addition, we've talked to the Redevelopment Authority Director, Chris Rafferty. Chris has talked to him and had some discussions about other funding. What we have found out is that the county does have some funding available. It is money that is set aside for demolition. And right now there's over $400,000 in that county fund. So what we're hoping to do is tap into that money for the demolition portion of the contract. In addition, we have learned from the county that they may be able to help with the acquisition of the property through another program that they have. So this is going to work out to be a number of different applications for one project. The first application will be the block grant funds. We will then be making application for demolition and acquisition at a later time. But just to back up to the Economic Development Authority meeting on Wednesday of last week, at that time, the Economic Development Authority agreed to order an appraisal of the property. We need to have it appraised before we can do anything along the lines of acquisition. And so Mr. McKnight is in the process of getting some estimates for appraisals for the Economic Development Authority. Again, council doesn't need to do anything regarding the appraisals. That's being handled by the Economic Development Authority. Now, Vince Malott is the agent for the property owner, Sebastian and Neil. And I did talk to Vince today, and to the extent that I could give him information, I brought him up to date with everything that we are planning. And he was very appreciative. I think it would be improper for us to discuss or do anything without keeping him informed. So he was made informed today, and he said he would have a discussion with a property owner to make him aware of what the borough is working on. Does anyone have any questions on the block grant application?
Vince aware that the borough can't pay any more than the appraised value?
Yes, I told him, and he understands this. I told him that the appraisal will dictate the boundaries that the borough can offer in terms of purchasing the property.
All you need tonight from us is the approval for the letter of support for the $100,000, correct?
That's all we need to do tonight.
All right.
The next application is the tabulation of bids for the tree trimming services. And we did have one bidder. We actually had two bids that went out. Only one responded to us. And it was a company that we have dealt with many times in the past, the Cumberland Valley Tree Service down in Chambersburg. They do very good work. Their cost to set up, to move their equipment to the borough is $85. Their cost for a bucket truck and crew for the day is $1,555. And to this extent that we would need flaggers, they would work at a rate of $120 an hour. And they bring in flaggers from a private company called Flagger Force. Now, on some of these borough streets, we don't need to have flaggers. We can block the streets at either end for an hour, cut the trees and take them down. You do have a list of all the property locations. We have about 28 locations where we will be doing trimming of trees. We hope to complete the work in 2 days, maybe 3 at the most. But we do have a bid, and we also have a certificate of insurance. Our contact at Cumberland Valley Tree Service is an arborist. His name is Fred Schrom. He's done work for the borough for probably over 10 years. And the borough councils in the past have never had a problem with his work. Any questions on the tree trimming bid?
That'll come out of roadway or highway fund.
This will come out of highway aid, yes. Our general fund is very low, and this is an expense that we can be paying for out of highway aid. The 2021 budget calendar is in your packet tonight. I know we had some questions at the last meeting. So every year we prepare a calendar, which includes a schedule of our meetings. And right now we're just a little bit ahead of schedule. We do have all of the revenues and expenditures assembled. We have started to receive requests from department heads. And we have received a request from Chief Kosher today. And other requests will be coming in. So we have started to work on the budget, and we will have more to report at the September meetings. And perhaps, I think there's a very good likelihood that you'll be able to see a draft before the September meeting, which is good news. Any questions on the budget calendar?
We need a special meeting, right, for the 13th of October?
The 13th of October would be a special meeting.
Okay. You just want to move on at the next meeting?
We could take care of that at that time. Anything else on the budget? Okay, Mr. Crouch came to me a few months ago and remarked that despite the pandemic and our financial situation, life goes on. And we cannot just let the equipment and things fall by the wayside. we need to address our equipment and try to stay out ahead of things. So we've had 2 meetings now with the employees, the department heads, and we have put together a very basic capital improvement plan for next year. Basically, the borough's capital improvement program would be funded by the general fund along with the highway aid fund. Those are the 2 primary sources that we would have. In some of the cases, when you look at this, you'll see expenditures, and I'll use the radio system, for example, where the borough is setting aside money every year. So what we will do is take that money that has been earmarked, we will draw a check and we will put that money in our account at Adams County National Bank, which is our capital reserve account. And we will set that money aside. And hopefully councils in the future will be disciplined. They will allow that money to accrue. They will follow the capital plan. And for example, when it comes time for the radio equipment to be purchased, the borough will have those monies sitting in reserve and will be able to pay for the radio upgrades. I would caution you, especially on the radio system. Go ahead, did someone have a question?
I don't think so.
On the radio system, in the past, when we did the radios, the county had money that was left over from a bond issue. And the county commissioners appropriated that money. And it was several $1 million that they appropriated for us. And that gave us basically probably, in many cases, half the money that we needed locally to buy our radios. Don't look for that this time. I don't think there's going to be any money left over from any bond issues. So it is going to fall on the municipalities, the ambulance, fire companies to raise their funds. So I think this is a good idea to start setting aside money now towards radio purchase. We do receive updates on the radio program from Chief Kosher. He gets updates at the county police chief's meeting, and that's probably the best information that we have. In addition, Mr. Barrett gets updates when he attends the county coordinators meetings. So we have 2 people that are watching this for us and keeping us informed. Are there any questions on the capital improvements? We're not going to vote on this tonight. We would like you to take a look at it. We'll have more discussions as time goes on. I would like to say that in terms of replacing public works vehicles and authority vehicles, it was a consensus of our committee that we should try to keep our vehicles in good operating shape for another 5 years and do 50,000 mile maintenance on those vehicles, do body work, do whatever we have to do to hold them together. And that has been done this year. So the focus will be in terms of equipment, it will be the police car, because police cars typically see the highest use and the most, they're operated 24/7. So those are the highlights of the capital improvement plan. You can look it over as you have time, and if you have questions or you want to discuss anything regarding the plan, give me a call. I'd be happy to sit down. I know Mike has spent a lot of time with it. He can also answer any questions that you may have. The memorandum of understanding with Friendship Hose Company remains open. A meeting is scheduled for next Monday night. I can tell you one township has appropriated funds, and that is Penn Township, who appropriated $3,000 towards the $13,000 cost of the workers' compensation. Lindsay did send a bill to the fire company for unemployment compensation. That bill was just over $4,000. We did get a response back from the fire company with a question, which Mr. Penner did answer, but to date, the bill remains open. It has not been paid. Any questions regarding the upcoming meeting with the fire company or the unemployment compensation? Okay, the next item that we have to discuss are the MMOs, which are the minimum municipal obligations for our pension plans. And these are prepared every year. They're prepared by our actuarial consultants, Thomas J. Anderson and Associates. And we have to adopt, and basically what these are, for those of you who are new to the council and the whole process, just as the borough has a budget, each pension plan has a budget. And the pension plan budget tells us what we need to keep the fund operating and keep it solvent. So what we look for in terms of the MMO is how much is it going to cost us and how much will our state aid cover of the MMO? And in the past, we had set a goal, our expenses, in order to stay solvent in our pension plans, we have to have a return of about 8%. And in addition, what we do is we try to keep the cost of operating our plans as low as possible. So in that respect, we have used Thomas Anderson for many years. They do a very good job for us. And the investments are handled by PSAB, Pennsylvania State Boroughs Association. So our MMO for the police pension plan will be $44,384. And for the non-uniform pension plan, $32,303. Once we know what our state aid is, if our state aid covers all of these costs, then we are good. We've met our MMO. If our state aid doesn't cover anything that's left over that is not paid by the state becomes the borough's obligation to pay. We won't know that until we receive our state aid allocation, which that will be next year for this plan. And we will receive our state aid for 2020. It typically comes out end of September, early October. It might be later this year because of everyone working from home, but that's usually the time frame that the state pension aid comes out. Are there any questions regarding the MMOs?
Why is the interest rate twice what for the uniformed pension as it is for the non-uniformed?
Where do you see that, Jeff?
Well,
On the financial requirement for minimal obligation.
Yeah,
It's line number 2.
I'm trying to find the
Normal
doc.
cost is a percentage of payroll, 6.43%. And the police pension plan is 13.12. Well, the police pension plan has 4 participating members as compared to the non-uniform pension plan, which has the public works employees 2 members. So that might be the reason that there's a higher cost. And also there's the payroll for the police department is higher than the non-uniform. So that's probably another reason why it's higher as a cost of the overall payroll.
So the percentage is higher because the overall compensation levels are higher. Is that right?
Yeah, your public works employees' salaries are in the 30,000 range, and the police salaries now, of course, the new officer is much lower. He's on probation, but once you become full-time, the rates are 60,000 and higher. So the payroll for the police department would be a much higher payroll.
I see.
And you can see it there.
Yeah, yes, you can see it. It's much higher. And so is the payout comparable for uniformed and non-uniformed? In other words, if you're there for a certain amount of
There's
years.
2 different pensions. There's 2 different pension documents. The police have an earlier retirement age. And so there's more cost to their plan because they will be retiring earlier. The non-uniform employees have a retirement age of 65. And so they tend to be working longer.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions on the MMOs? In your packet, I tried to give you a little handle on revenue and expense forecast. And of course, these things, they're not carved in stone. But I wanted to give you an idea of where we are revenue wise. You can see the summary of the revenues there. We still have 227,000 in revenues to collect. And what we don't know, the wild cards that we have, we will be able to apply for reimbursement for the MOPEC expenses of Officer Brady, his training cost, and his salary that he was paid while attending the academy. The question there is, while we know we can receive that reimbursement, will we receive it this year? Because that paperwork goes into the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission. And I understand it has to be voted on at a public meeting. And so the question is, will they be having a meeting before the end of the year? Or will this be something that gets kicked over until next year? So that's not known to us at this point in time. We also have opened the reimbursement from our friends at Newville EMS. And also our question, we don't know, we might have a little bit of clarity to that later tonight from Mr. Penner on the Cumberland County grant. And then we'll know better, probably at the next meeting, we'll know what we can apply for through FEMA. But it appears the FEMA request will not be more than $10,000 at this point in time from what we do know. But we'll have more to report on this. I wanted to get this out to you to give you an idea of where we stand. I don't think it's anything different than you've heard me talk about since March and April. It is extremely tight. The gap between our revenues and expenses is very narrow. And it's just something that is indicative of this year and the pandemic. If there's any consolation in all of this, talking to other municipalities, we're all in the same boat. Everybody is pretty much in the same pinch. So there you have a revenue and expense projection. If you have any questions on that, if you'd like to discuss it, to see it in more detail, give me a call or stop by the office. Try to answer any questions that you may have. We also received a notice from Southampton Township that they have prepared a draft contract for the upcoming trash haulers contract. And I'm pleased to say, and I talked to Scott Mack about this, we had a very nice conversation. I'll tell you what the township has agreed to. And this is based upon the letter that you had Mr. McKnight send to the townships. In the upcoming contract, all toters, trash and recycling will have lids. If you select the trash bag service, you will not have any other service such as the bulk pickup, and you will not have recycling. If you want recycling with your trash bags, you will have to pay for that service. The township is now handling the collection of delinquent accounts, and I talked to Kathy Jenick, and she actually sent the letters out for the last quarter. So they are taking care of that, and they will notify us of anyone who is not paid. The toters, there's now a clause in the agreement that they may not be strewn about, that they must be put back on the curb and placed in a proper and respectful manner. They're not to be out in the street. They should not be a hindrance to traffic. So that is a clause that is built into the new contract. One thing that Scott told me, and he does not have an exact figure, the supervisors are going back and forth on this. But for the time since the inception of this contract, which was 2010, the township has charged all customers a $2 fee to pay for their administration, their secretary, their phones, all of their overhead costs. He now believes that it is time to increase that to, as he said, it's somewhere around $3. But that is nothing that we pay. That is something that customers will pay as part of their bill. I told him, you know, given the time that this has been in effect, there's not been an increase. Everybody's costs go up. So I think it's reasonable to expect, you know, $1 or so increase on the surcharge. The haulers will also take over the placement of the toters. And we received today clarification on that. Not only will they distribute the toters, they will replace the toters, they will deliver new toters as new customers come online. So they will also maintain the toters and repair them. So I would say just about all of the requests that Newville Borough made to the township have been addressed as part of the new agreement. And you all have a copy of that agreement in your meeting packets. Does anyone have any questions?
Fred, that surcharge, you said $3. Is that monthly?
Quarterly. It's on
Quarterly?
each bill.
Well, quarterly.
Whatever the bill is, right now your bill is 48 and $2 of that is a surcharge.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the township contract? It appears from what I have heard that no one has dropped out, that everyone is opting to stay in the contract with the township. They are also trying to pick up Southampton Township, Franklin County as a member of the consortium. Those numbers would help with pricing, but there's no commitment at this time. But the Southampton Cumberland supervisors are in discussions trying to convince them to join.
Is that something we might want to make a pitch to the COG? One last ditch effort to see if anybody else wants to hop in.
I know Scott Mack attends the COG meetings, and I know he was not at one of the meetings when there was a discussion on this. But that's something we could ask Marcus and Mike Crouch to do is, you know, maybe engage him in a discussion to see if there are any other COG members that would like to join. And we did mention Dickinson is already in an agreement, so I don't think they could opt out, but there might be other municipalities that would want to join in. Anything else on the contract? There is a notice that we are going to send out to all of our taxpayers, because as you know, you did extend the face value period. And the notice reads as follows: the Newville Borough Council on May 5th, 2020 adopted resolution 2020-05. This resolution extended face period, the payment of the 2020 borough and county taxes until November 1, 2020. Taxes not paid after November 1, 2020 will be subject to a 10% penalty. Taxes unpaid after December 31st, 2020 will be referred to the County Tax Claim Bureau. The penalties and the referral of unpaid taxes, that's pursuant to the Tax Enabling Act. That language is in our tax ordinance. But we are sending customers, taxpayers as a notice, just reminding them that the resolution that extended face period will end on November 1st. And then we give directions as to how people can pay, whether it is to pay in person here at the borough office, or to send a check by mail if you're paying by mail, or if you're dropping off at the drop box and you want a receipt, you must enclose a self-addressed stamped envelope. So Lindsay is preparing those notices, and we should have those ready to go tomorrow. The treasurer's report. The balance in the general fund is $3,344.46 as of July 31st. Rental fund, $1,131.18. Street lighting account, $9,246.65. Fire tax, $54,971.61. Our debit card, $648.88. Newville area events has $3,131.40. The highway aid account has $41,212.91. In our payroll account, we have $18,085.05. The police accounts, the account at Belco, the checking account is $5,948.74. The account at the K-9 fund is $1,841.34. The auxiliary police account has $251, and the police have on their debit card $786.79. The pension fund balances, and these are the current balances that just came out this week. Police pension fund has a balance of $351,872.45, which you can see is up from the balance last month. We finished last month with a balance of $344,000. So we were up about $7,000. Non-uniform pension plan has a balance of $454,216.14. That is up from $437,227 last month. So the plans are starting to show improvement. The joint veterans account has $946.63. Our capital improvement fund has $1,467.07. And in the tax anticipation loan account, $3,247.98. Are there any questions on the balances? Joey has more to report on the some funds that have come in for the Newville events account. Our list of bills for the month include legal advertisements and an employment ad, the Valley Times Star, $403. Supplies for the borough office from Sailors, $32.25. And DACO Public Works uniforms for July $235. Sailors Market Gatorade for the Public Works crew, $19.46. Higher Information Group quarterly service fees for the printers, $180.84. The PA Code Alliance, their zoning and code enforcement for the month of July, total $2,148.75. Higher Information color copy surcharges for the police copier and the borough copier, $105. JFG funding, the leases for the copiers, $269. Ed Mill Fuels gasoline purchases for the month, $294.45. Sailors Market Trailhead cleaning supplies, $68.22. Irwin and McKnight solicitor fees for the borough, $881.50. Irwin and McKnight solicitor fees for the EDA, $275.82. And Salzman Hughes for COVID-19 guidance has charged $90. Total bills for the month, $5,003.29. There's one highway aid bill to CNH Industrial Capital, which is a lease payment for the skid loader of $922.83. Are there any questions on the list of bills? I believe that's all that I have, Scott, unless anyone wishes to go over anything that we have covered.
Anybody?
Yeah, Fred, you said at the beginning, Scott was going to talk more about that grant, the COVID grant. Is that going to be now or later?
I think we should wait till everyone is. We don't have a full council here right now, Jack.
Just wanted to check.
But we will do it tonight before the meeting ends.
Any other questions? Well, you have 20 minutes until the next meeting starts, so we'll go ahead and close this one up, and I'll open up the other one a while. All right,
Okay,
and there's Bob Darius.